The alarm screamed through the command center of the Kaltharon Empire's most powerful space station. Red lights flashed across the massive room where dozens of alien officers worked at their control panels. Admiral Zexthara's forearms moved quickly over her command console as urgent messages flooded her screens. "Admiral, you need to see this," called out Commander Krelvon from his station. His scaled green skin looked pale under the warning lights. Sector 7 Alpha Patrol just sent this. The main display screen flickered to life. Grainy sensor data showed a strange object moving through space at impossible speed. The ship looked unlike anything in their vast database of known vessels. It had smooth, white curves, instead of the sharp angles or organic shapes that most civilizations used. But that was not the strangest part. "How fast is it moving?" Admiral Zexthara asked, her voice sharp. "That's the problem, Admiral. Our sensors show it's traveling at 0.97 light speed, without using hyperspace." Silence filled the command center. Every officer knew this was impossible. Ships could only reach such speeds by jumping into hyperspace, the special dimension that allowed faster-than-light travel. No known technology could push a ship that fast through normal space without tearing it apart. "Run the scan again," the Admiral ordered. "We already did, Admiral, 3 times. The readings are correct." Admiral Zexthara's eyes narrowed. In 2,000 years, the Kaltharon Empire had conquered or absorbed every spacefaring race they had encountered. Their biomechanical ships were the most advanced in the galaxy. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. Their sensors could track a single fighter ship from 10 light-years away. Yet this unknown vessel was making their best technology look primitive. "What's its heading?" she asked. "Direct path toward our core worlds, Admiral. At current speed, it will reach the throne system in 6 days." The Admiral's blood ran cold. The throne system was the heart of their empire, home to 50 billion Kaltharans and their emperor. No enemy had ever come close to threatening it. "Does it respond to our signals?" "No, Admiral. We've tried all standard communication channels. The ship appears to be ignoring our hails completely." Admiral Zexthara stood up from her command chair. Her tall, reptilian form cast a long shadow across the bridge. "Send an emergency message to High Command. Tell them we have a Code Black situation." Code Black meant a threat to the Empire itself. It had not been used in over 300 years. Within minutes, her personal communication device buzzed with an incoming transmission from the capital. The image of Grand Marshal Vex Moron appeared on her screen. His ancient face showed deep concern. "Admiral, explain this Code Black. Our sensors show only one ship that can outrun our entire fleet, Grand Marshal. One ship that uses technology we don't understand. One ship heading straight for the throne system. Impossible. No single vessel poses a threat to the Empire. With respect, Grand Marshal, look at the data yourself." Admiral Zexthara transmitted the sensor readings. She watched as the Grand Marshal's expression changed from doubt to shock to fear. "How is this possible?" the Grand Marshal whispered. "We don't know, sir. The ship's design matches nothing in our records. Its hull material reflects our scans in ways that suggest advanced metallic composites we've never seen. And its propulsion system." She paused. "Grand Marshal, our scientists believe it's manipulating spacetime itself." The Grand Marshal was quiet for a long moment. "Admiral, take the 7th Battle Fleet and intercept this vessel. Use whatever force necessary to stop it." "Yes, sir. What if it won't surrender?" "Then destroy it. We cannot allow an unknown threat to reach our core worlds." Admiral Zexthara nodded. The 7th Battle Fleet consisted of 200 warships, including 5 planet-killer dreadnoughts. It was enough firepower to level an entire star system. "Admiral," Commander Krelvon called out again. "The unknown ship just changed course." "What?" "Show me." The display updated with new tracking data. The mysterious vessel had suddenly shifted direction by 90 degrees. Not gradually, like a normal ship making a course correction, but instantly. One moment it was flying straight toward the throne system. The next moment it was heading toward the nebula sector. "That's impossible," breathed the Admiral. "No ship can turn like that at such speed. The crew would be crushed. Unless..." Commander Krelvan said slowly. "Unless they have artificial gravity systems far beyond ours." Admiral Zexthara felt a chill run through her body. If this unknown civilization had mastered gravity control to such a degree, what other technologies did they possess? What weapons? What defenses? "Commander, begin fleet mobilization immediately. I want every ship in the 7th Fleet ready to depart in 2 hours." "Yes, Admiral." As her crew rushed to prepare for departure, Admiral Zexthara stared at the tracking display. The unknown ship continued its impossible maneuvers, changing direction and speed in ways that violated every law of physics she understood. Whoever built this vessel had technology that made the mighty Kaltharon Empire look like children playing with toy boats. For the first time in her long military career, Admiral Zexthara felt truly afraid. Not for herself, but for her empire. They had grown strong by conquering weaker civilizations, but what happened when they encountered someone stronger? The unknown ship flickered on her sensors, seeming to fade in and out of detection. It was as if the vessel existed partially in their reality and partially somewhere else. The implications made her head spin. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "High Command is ordering a full fleet mobilization. All available ships are to converge on the intercept point." "How many ships total?" "Over 800, Admiral. The largest battle fleet in our history." Admiral Zexthara nodded grimly. 800 of their most advanced warships against one unknown vessel. It should have been overkill. Should have been an easy victory. But as she watched the mysterious ship perform another impossible maneuver on her display, she wondered if 800 ships would be enough. She wondered if 8,000 ships would be enough. The Empire was about to face something it had never encountered before. An opponent that might actually be superior to them. The very foundation of their civilization, built on the belief that they were the most advanced species in the galaxy, was about to be tested. And Admiral Zexthara had the terrible feeling they were about to fail that test. Admiral Zexthara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. Around her, the largest battle fleet in Kaltharon history spread across space like a deadly net. 800 warships moved in perfect formation, their biomechanical hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported the sensor officer. "Distance, 40,000 kilometers and closing." "Visual on screen," Admiral Zexthara ordered. The main display showed the unknown vessel for the first time in detail. It was smaller than expected, perhaps 300 meters long. Its hull was pure white, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. No visible weapons. No obvious engine ports. It looked more like a work of art than a warship. "Sensors detect no weapons, Admiral," reported Commander Krelvan. "No shield generators that we can identify. The hull appears to be some kind of advanced metal we've never encountered." "How can something so small move so fast?" muttered the Admiral. As if answering her question, the unknown ship suddenly accelerated. Not gradually, but instantly, like switching from a walk to a run. In seconds, it had doubled its speed. "All ships, pursue pattern Delta 7, Admiral Zexthara commanded into her communicator. "Close the net, don't let it escape." The Kaltharon fleet responded immediately. Ships from 6 different directions moved to surround the mysterious vessel. Their plan was simple. Force it into a small area of space where it couldn't maneuver, then demand surrender. But the unknown ship had other ideas. Instead of trying to escape through the gaps in their formation, it flew directly at the largest group of Kaltharon ships. Admiral Zexthara watched in amazement as the vessel weaved between her dreadnoughts like a fish swimming through coral. It passed within 100 meters of the massive warships, close enough that any mistake would mean a collision. "How is it possible to fly with such precision at that speed?" whispered her navigation officer. The mystery ship emerged from the formation unharmed and began a series of maneuvers that made Admiral Zexthara's head spin. It looped around a nearby asteroid, used the rock's gravity to slingshot in a new direction, then performed a barrel roll that should have been impossible for anything larger than a fighter craft. "Admiral," called out Captain Veltar from the tactical station, "I'm analyzing its flight patterns. This isn't random evasion. Every maneuver serves a specific purpose." "Explain." "Watch its course, Admiral." It's avoiding populated systems completely. When we forced it away from the mining colonies in Sector 9, it changed direction immediately. It's trying not to endanger civilian populations. Admiral Zexthara frowned. In all their wars of conquest, enemy ships had never shown concern for Kaltharon civilians. Most tried to attack soft targets to force the Empire to negotiate. This ship was deliberately avoiding them. What kind of enemy protects our people? She wondered aloud. Her question was answered 2 hours later, when the chase led them to the Kepler research station. The station housed 3,000 scientists studying gravitational anomalies near a dying star. The star was collapsing slowly, creating dangerous space distortions that made the area difficult to navigate. Admiral, the science officer reported urgently, the station is in danger. The stellar collapse is accelerating. A black hole is forming faster than predicted. On the display screen, Admiral Zexthara could see the research station beginning to stretch and twist as gravity pulled at its structure. The scientists had perhaps 10 minutes before the station was torn apart. All ships, move to rescue formation, she ordered. Prepare tractor beams. But before her fleet could respond, the unknown vessel suddenly changed course. Instead of continuing its escape, it flew directly toward the forming black hole. Admiral Zexthara watched in shock as the mysterious ship began a complex series of maneuvers around the collapsing star. What is it doing? She demanded. I don't understand, Admiral, replied the science officer. It appears to be using some kind of gravitational manipulation technology. It's creating counterwaves in space-time itself. The unknown ship danced around the black hole like it was performing a delicate ballet. Streams of energy flowed from its hull, somehow interacting with the massive gravitational forces. Slowly, impossibly, the collapse began to slow. Admiral, the black hole is stabilizing, reported the science officer, his voice filled with wonder. The unknown ship is somehow neutralizing the gravitational cascade. Within minutes, the danger passed. The dying star settled into a stable configuration that would last for thousands of years. The research station was safe, and then, without any acknowledgement or communication, the mysterious vessel resumed its original course and flew away. Did it just save our people? Asked Commander Krelvan. Admiral Zexthara had no answer. In 30 years of military service, she had never seen anything like it. An unknown ship, pursued by the Empire's greatest fleet, had stopped its escape to save Kaltharon lives. Then it had demonstrated technology that could manipulate black holes before continuing on its way, as if nothing had happened. Admiral, her communications officer announced, message from High Command. Grand Marshal Vex Moron wants a status report. The Admiral sighed. How could she explain what they had just witnessed? How could she tell the Grand Marshal that their enemy had saved Kaltharon lives, using technology beyond their understanding? Tell the Grand Marshal that the unknown vessel possesses gravitational manipulation capabilities far beyond our current science. It demonstrates precise control of space-time distortions and shows no hostile intent toward civilian populations. Should I mention that it saved the research station? Admiral Zexthara paused. The Empire's entire philosophy was based on the belief that only the strong survived, that might made right. The idea that an advanced civilization might use its power to save lives, rather than take them, challenged everything they believed. Yes, include that in the report. As her fleet resumed pursuit, Admiral Zexthara found herself studying the unknown ship with new eyes. Its movements were not just precise, they were elegant. It flew through space like it belonged there, working with the forces around it rather than fighting against them. Admiral, Captain Veltar reported, I've completed my analysis of the vessel's capabilities. Its hull appears to be constructed from materials that can withstand gravitational forces that would crush our strongest ships. Its propulsion system doesn't seem to push against space. It appears to convince space to move around it. Convince space to move? I know it sounds impossible, Admiral. But watch how it navigates gravitational fields. Our ships have to fight against gravity, using massive amounts of energy. This vessel seems to negotiate with gravity, finding paths of least resistance that we can't detect. Admiral Zexthara realized She was looking at something truly revolutionary. Not just advanced technology, but an entirely different approach to spaceflight. While the Calthorans had built bigger engines and stronger hulls to dominate space, this civilization had learned to work with space itself. "How long until we catch up to it again?" she asked. "At current speed?" "We won't, Admiral. It's maintaining a distance that keeps us just within sensor range. But it can accelerate away from us whenever it chooses. So why doesn't it?" Captain Veltar looked thoughtful. "Perhaps it wants us to follow, Admiral. Perhaps it's leading us somewhere." The idea sent a chill through Admiral Zexthara's body. If the unknown ship was deliberately leading the Empire's greatest fleet somewhere, what waited at the destination? Was this an elaborate trap? Or something else entirely? As she watched the mysterious vessel continue its impossible dance through space, Admiral Zexthara began to suspect that nothing about this encounter would end the way the Empire expected. The pursuit had lasted for 3 days when Admiral Zexthara finally received the message she had been both hoping for and dreading. Her communications officer's voice cracked with excitement and fear as he announced the impossible. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "On what frequency?" "That's just it, Admiral. They're broadcasting on our most secure military channel. The one that requires encryption codes that change every hour." Admiral Zexthara felt her blood run cold. Those codes were known only to the highest levels of the Imperial military. For the unknown ship to access them meant either they had spies deep within the Empire, or their technology could break their most advanced security systems in real time. "Put it through," she ordered. The bridge fell silent as the transmission came through the speakers. The voice was calm, speaking perfect Calthoran with no accent or hesitation. "Calthoran fleet. We mean no harm to your people or your empire. We seek safe passage to the galactic core. Why do you pursue us with such determination?" Admiral Zexthara exchanged glances with her officers. The speaker sounded completely relaxed, as if being chased by 800 warships was a minor inconvenience. "Unknown vessel," she replied into her communicator. "You have entered Calthoran space without permission and have demonstrated technology that poses a potential threat to our empire. Identify yourself and state your purpose." There was a brief pause before the response came. "We are humans from the third planet orbiting the star you call Sol Tertius. We have traveled a great distance to bring warning of a threat that approaches your galaxy. Time is precious. Your pursuit delays our mission when every day matters." Admiral Zexthara's 4 hands froze over her control panel. "Sol Tertius?" She quickly accessed the Imperial database, her claws clicking rapidly on the search interface. "Commander Krelvon," she called out. "Pull up the file on Sol Tertius immediately." The results appeared on her screen moments later, and Admiral Zexthara's hearts began beating faster. Sol Tertius was listed as a small, insignificant world in the outer territories. The Empire had surveyed it 200 years ago and classified it as primitive, Stage 2 civilization. The report described the inhabitants as bipedal mammals with basic technology, no space travel capability, and no strategic value. "This has to be a mistake," she whispered. "Admiral?" asked Commander Krelvon. "Humans, Sol Tertius. Our records show them as primitive beings with no space technology. Yet this ship," she gestured at the display showing the mysterious vessel. "This is the most advanced technology we've ever encountered." The communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, they're transmitting again. We understand your confusion." The human voice continued. "Your last survey of our world was conducted when we had barely begun to explore our own solar system. Much has changed since then. We developed quickly when we realized we were alone in what we thought was an empty galaxy." "Alone?" Admiral Zexthara spoke into her communicator. "You are not alone. This galaxy contains hundreds of spacefaring civilizations. Yes, we have learned this since leaving our home. But our early observations suggested otherwise. This isolation drove us to develop different approaches to technology and space travel than those used by your empire." Captain Veltar leaned toward the Admiral. "Admiral, this explains their unusual technology. If they developed in isolation, they would have solved problems differently than civilizations that learned from conquered peoples." Admiral Zexthara nodded slowly. The Kaltharon Empire had grown by absorbing other civilizations, taking their best technologies and adding them to their own. These humans had developed everything from scratch, finding their own solutions to the challenges of space travel. "Human vessel," she said into the communicator. "You mentioned a threat approaching our galaxy. Explain." "Admiral Zexthara of the Destroyer of Worlds. We prefer to discuss such matters in person. We request a meeting at the neutral trading station in the Zerion system. We will come unarmed and with only 3 representatives." The Admiral's blood froze again. The human had used her name and the name of her ship, information that was not broadcast on any public channel. "How much did they know about the Empire? How do you know my name?" she demanded. "Your ship broadcasts identification signals on multiple frequencies, Admiral. We simply listened. We mean no disrespect by learning your language and customs. We find it aids in peaceful communication," Commander Krelvon whispered urgently. "Admiral, our identification broadcasts are encrypted. For them to decode those signals would require computing power beyond anything we possess," the Admiral finished grimly. The human voice continued. "We understand your suspicion, Admiral. In your position, we would feel the same, but we ask you to consider this. If we meant harm to your empire, would we reveal ourselves so openly? Would we save your research station? Would we request a meeting instead of simply disappearing into deep space?" Admiral Zexthara had to admit the logic was sound. The human ship could clearly outrun and outmaneuver her entire fleet. If they wanted to avoid contact, they could have done so easily. "What guarantee do we have that this is not a trap?" she asked. "You have our word, Admiral. We know that may mean little to you. But among humans, our word is our bond. We will come to the meeting with 3 unarmed representatives. You may bring whatever forces you feel necessary for your protection." Captain Veltar stepped closer to the Admiral. "Admiral, this could be our only chance to understand their technology. The Grand Marshal will want answers." Admiral Zexthara considered her options. The Empire's standard response to unknown threats was to attack first and ask questions later. But this situation was far from standard. The humans had demonstrated superior technology, peaceful intentions, and knowledge that could be crucial to the Empire's security. "Very well," she said into the communicator. "We will meet at Zerion Station in 12 hours. You will submit to scans and bring no weapons or technology that could threaten the station." "Agreed, Admiral. We thank you for your willingness to talk instead of fight. Perhaps this meeting will benefit both our peoples." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Destroyer of Worlds in stunned silence. "Admiral," the communications officer said quietly, "should I inform High Command?" Admiral Zexthara stared at the display screen, where the human ship continued its graceful flight through space. A primitive civilization that had somehow become more advanced than the galaxy's greatest empire. Beings who saved enemies and requested meetings instead of demanding surrender. "Yes," she said finally. "Tell the Grand Marshal that we have made contact with the humans of Sol Tertius. Tell him that everything we thought we knew about the galaxy may be wrong." As her ship changed course toward Zerion Station, Admiral Zexthara found herself both terrified and excited. In 12 hours, she would meet representatives of a civilization that challenged everything the Kaltharon Empire believed about strength, technology, and survival. She had the feeling that this meeting would change the galaxy forever. The human ship glided ahead of them through space, still performing impossible maneuvers with casual ease. Admiral Zexthara watched it and wondered what other surprises these mysterious humans had in store for her empire. Soon, she would find out. Zerion Station hung in space like a massive metal flower, its multiple docking arms extended to welcome ships from across the galaxy. Admiral Zexthara had chosen this neutral trading post for the meeting because it belonged to no single government and had excellent security systems. If the humans tried any tricks, the station's defenses would contain the threat. Admiral Zexthara stood in the station's main conference room, surrounded by 50 of her best security officers. Through the large windows, she could see her fleet positioned around the station. 800 ships stood ready to respond if this meeting went wrong. "Admiral," reported her security chief. The human vessel is approaching Docking Bay 7. Our scans show 3 life forms aboard a small shuttle. No weapons detected. No energy signatures that suggest hidden technology. Maintain full alert, she ordered. Remember, these beings have technology we don't understand. The conference room doors slid open, and Admiral Zexthara got her first look at humans in person. They were smaller than she expected, barely reaching her shoulders. Their skin was pale pink. Their hair varied in color from yellow to brown to black. They looked remarkably ordinary for beings who had created such extraordinary technology. The human in the center, a female with short brown hair, stepped forward and spoke in perfect Caltheran. Admiral Zexthara, I am Captain Sarah Chen, of the United Earth Starship Endeavor. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Behind Captain Chen stood 2 others. A tall male with gray hair who carried a device Admiral Zexthara didn't recognize, and a shorter female with dark skin who wore formal clothing that suggested diplomatic training. I am Dr. Marcus Webb, said the male. And this is Ambassador Elena Vasquez. We come in peace and friendship. Admiral Zexthara studied them carefully. They showed no fear despite being surrounded by armed Caltheran soldiers. They moved with calm confidence, like beings accustomed to walking into potentially dangerous situations. Captain Chen, Admiral Zexthara said formally, you mentioned a threat approaching our galaxy. Explain. Dr. Webb stepped forward and placed his device on the conference table. With your permission, Admiral, I would like to show you what we discovered 3 years ago. At Admiral Zexthara's nod, Dr. Webb activated the device. A 3-dimensional image appeared above the table, showing a map of their galaxy and the space beyond. Our deep space monitoring stations detected these signals coming from the void between galaxies, Dr. Webb explained. The image showed massive objects moving through the empty space beyond their galaxy's edge. We call them the Devourers. Admiral Zexthara leaned closer. The objects were enormous, each one larger than a solar system. They moved with purpose, following a direct path toward their galaxy. What are they? She asked. We're not entirely sure, Doctor, Webb admitted. They appear to be beings of pure energy, capable of consuming entire star systems to fuel their growth. Our observations suggest they have already destroyed 14 galaxies in their path. The Admiral felt a chill run through her body. How long until they arrive? Approximately 50 years at their current speed. Ambassador Vasquez spoke for the first time. Admiral, this is why we have been traveling so quickly. We are part of humanity's early warning network, racing to inform all spacefaring civilizations about the approaching threat. You could have sent a message, Admiral Zexthara pointed out. Captain Chen shook her head. Admiral, would your empire believe such a message from an unknown civilization? Would you take action based on the word of beings you considered primitive? Admiral Zexthara had to admit the human was right. If the Empire had received such a message, they would have dismissed it as either false or an attempt to trick them into weakening their defenses. What do you propose? The Admiral asked. Doctor, Webb manipulated his device, and the image changed to show detailed technical specifications. We propose the formation of a galactic defense coalition, every spacefaring civilization working together to defend against the Devourers. The Caltheran Empire does not form alliances, Admiral Zexthara said coldly. We conquer, or we are conquered. Admiral, Ambassador Vasquez said gently. With respect, the Devourers are not another spacefaring civilization. They are a force of nature, like a galactic hurricane. You cannot conquer them. You can only survive them through cooperation. Captain Chen activated another display. We have analyzed the Devourers' energy patterns. They feed on the life force of planets, the energy output of stars, and the gravitational fields of solar systems. A single Devourer can drain an entire star system in months. How do you propose to fight such beings? Admiral Zexthara demanded. Dr. Webb smiled for the first time since entering the room. We don't fight them, Admiral. We redirect them. The display changed again, showing technical diagrams that made Admiral Zexthara's head spin. Our gravitational manipulation technology can create artificial gravity wells, false signals that convince the devourers to change course. If we work together, we can guide them away from populated areas and toward empty regions of space, where they can feed on cosmic dust and radiation without harming anyone. You would share this technology with us? We would share it with everyone, Captain Chen said. Admiral, our species developed a saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If even one civilization falls to the devourers, they become stronger and harder to redirect. We must all work together, or we all fall separately. Admiral Zexthera stared at the technical specifications floating above the table. The mathematics alone were beyond anything her empire had developed. Why should we trust you? Ambassador Vasquez leaned forward. Admiral, what would we gain by deceiving you? We could have avoided your empire entirely if we wished. Instead, we chose to warn you, to offer our help, to share our most advanced technology, to demonstrate our sincerity, Dr. Webb added. We offer you these gravitational manipulation principles as a gift. Use them to improve your ships, your space stations, your quality of life. We ask for nothing in return, except your consideration of our proposal. Dr. Webb touched his device again, and data streams began flowing to the station's computers. Admiral Zexthara watched in amazement as centuries of human research and development transferred to their systems. Admiral, her science officer whispered in her ear, this technology could revolutionize our entire civilization. Our ships could travel faster, our space stations could be built in previously impossible locations, our understanding of physics would advance by millennia. You give this freely? Admiral Zexthara asked. Freely, Captain Chen confirmed. Among humans, we believe that knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. When we all know more, we all become stronger. Admiral Zexthera found herself struggling with concepts that challenged everything her empire believed. The Kaltharans had always taken what they needed from weaker civilizations. The idea of giving away their most advanced technology to potential enemies was almost incomprehensible. How do we know you aren't planning to conquer us once we become dependent on your technology? Dr. Webb laughed, a sound that seemed genuinely amused rather than threatening. Admiral, if we wanted to conquer your empire, would we need to give you better technology first? Our single ship has outmaneuvered your entire fleet for days. The truth of his statement hit Admiral Zexthara like a physical blow. These humans could have attacked at any time, could have demonstrated their superiority through force. Instead, they had chosen to save Kaltharan lives and offer partnership. What exactly are you proposing? She asked. Ambassador Vasquez stood up. A coalition of all spacefaring civilizations. Humans will provide gravitational manipulation, technology, and coordination protocols. The Kaltharan Empire could contribute your industrial capacity, your military organization, your vast resources. Other civilizations would add their own strengths. Together, we could build a network of gravity wells that would safely redirect the devourers around populated areas. And after the threat passes, then we all go back to our own territories, enriched by the knowledge we've shared and the friendships we've formed, Captain Chen said simply. Admiral Zexthara looked at the three humans standing calmly in her conference room. They offered technology beyond her empire's dreams, asked for nothing but cooperation, and spoke of friendship with beings they had never met before today. It was either the most generous offer in galactic history or the most sophisticated trap ever conceived. I must consult with my superiors, she said finally. Of course, Ambassador Vasquez replied. But Admiral, remember that every day we delay is one day less to prepare. The devourers do not negotiate, do not slow down, do not show mercy. They simply consume and move on. As the humans prepared to return to their ship, Captain Chen turned back to Admiral Zexthara. Admiral, we hope your empire will join us. But whether you do or not, we will continue our mission. Every civilization deserves a chance to survive what's coming. Admiral Zexthara watched them leave, her mind reeling from everything she had learned. In one short meeting, these humans had offered to transform her empire's technology, challenged their basic philosophy of conquest, and revealed a threat that could destroy everything they had built. The worst part was, she was beginning to believe them. The emergency session of the Caltheron High Council had lasted for 18 hours. Admiral Zexthera stood before the assembled leaders of the Empire, watching their faces as they struggled to process what she had told them. The massive chamber fell silent as Grand Marshal Vex Moron finally spoke. "You are asking us to abandon 2,000 years of Imperial doctrine," he said slowly. "You want us to share our military secrets with unknown aliens and trust beings we met 3 days ago. With respect, Grand Marshal, I'm asking us to survive," Admiral Zexthara replied. "The human technology alone could advance our civilization by centuries. Their proposal for the coalition makes strategic sense." Council leader Zarthek, an ancient Caltheran whose scales had turned white with age, leaned forward in his seat. "But it goes against everything we believe, Admiral. The Empire grows strong by conquest, not by partnership. The Empire grows strong by being intelligent," Admiral Zexthera countered. "And intelligence means recognizing when we encounter something superior and learning from it instead of trying to destroy it." Minister of War Kex Valens slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Superior? These humans have one ship. We have thousands. One ship that saved our research station, outmaneuvered our entire fleet, and offered us technology beyond our dreams," Admiral Zexthera said firmly. "Minister, our pride will not protect us from the devourers." Grand Marshal Vex Moron activated a holographic display showing the technical data the humans had shared. "Our scientists have been studying their gravitational manipulation principles. Early reports suggest this technology could indeed revolutionize our capabilities." "It's a trap," insisted Minister Kex Valen. "They make us dependent on their technology, then they control us." "Minister," Admiral Zexthara said, "if the humans wanted to control us, they wouldn't need to give us better technology. They could have destroyed our fleet whenever they chose. Instead, they saved our people and offered partnership." The debate continued for hours, with the council split between those who saw opportunity and those who saw threat. Finally, Emperor Zul Marin himself entered the chamber, his ancient presence commanding immediate silence. "Admiral Zexthera," the Emperor spoke in his deep, gravelly voice, "you have spent more time with these humans than any of us. What is your assessment of their character?" Admiral Zexthera chose her words carefully. "Your Majesty, they act according to principles we have forgotten. They value life over conquest, cooperation over domination, knowledge over power. They could have taken anything they wanted from us, but instead they chose to give. And you believe this devourer threat is real?" "I have seen their data, Your Majesty. I have watched their ship perform miracles of engineering. If beings capable of such technology say a threat approaches, I believe we should listen." Emperor Zul'Maren was quiet for a long moment, his ancient eyes studying the technical displays. "Admiral, send word to the humans. Tell them the Caltheron Empire will join their coalition. But with conditions. We will share resources and industrial capacity. But we maintain command of our own forces. Rendesturk. Number 2. We conditions subscribe just next time." "Yes, Your Majesty." "And Admiral, I want you to serve as our primary liaison with these humans. Learn everything you can about their technology and their methods." 3 months later, Admiral Zexthara stood on the bridge of a completely transformed destroyer of worlds. Human gravitational manipulation technology had been integrated throughout the ship, allowing maneuvers that would have been impossible before. The vessel could now change direction instantly, travel through gravitational fields that would have crushed the old hull, and achieve speeds that rivaled the mysterious human ship. "Admiral," reported Commander Krelvan, "we're receiving a transmission from the UES Endeavour. Captain Chen reports that 17 more civilizations have joined the coalition this month." Admiral Zexthara smiled, an expression that would have shocked her officers 6 months ago. "Excellent. What's our current status on the gravity well construction project?" "The first installation will be completed next week, Admiral." Human engineers estimate we'll need 300 such stations to create an effective barrier around our galaxy. The bridge doors slid open, and Dr. Marcus Webb entered. Now a familiar sight on Caltheron ships, the human scientist had spent months working alongside Caltheron engineers, sharing knowledge and learning about their technology in return. "Admiral," Dr. Webb said, "I wanted to personally thank you for your people's contribution to the project. The Caltheron industrial capacity has exceeded all our expectations. Doctor, your people taught us that strength comes from cooperation, not just conquest. We're simply applying that lesson." Dr. Webb nodded approvingly. "The gravity well network is ahead of schedule thanks to your Empire's manufacturing capabilities. We may actually be ready before the Devourers arrive." Number 1. Admiral Zex Thera looked out at the stars, where dozens of species now worked together on the greatest construction project in galactic history. Caltheron ships worked alongside human vessels, while engineer teams from 12 different civilizations collaborated on space stations that would protect them all. "Doctor, may I ask you something?" "Of course, Admiral. Why did your people choose cooperation over conquest? You clearly had the technology to dominate this galaxy if you wished." Dr. Webb was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "Admiral, we learned something important during our isolation on Earth. When you fight against the universe, you might win individual battles, but you always lose the war. When you work with the universe, when you find ways to cooperate, rather than dominate, you discover possibilities you never imagined. Is that why your ship moves so gracefully through space?" "Exactly. We don't fight gravity or momentum or the laws of physics. We convince them to work with us. It's much more efficient than trying to overpower natural forces." Admiral Zex Thara understood now why the human approach had seemed so alien to her empire. The Caltharans had always seen the universe as something to be conquered. The humans had learned to see it as something to be partnered with. "Admiral," her communications officer announced, "incoming message from Grand Marshal Vex Moron." The Grand Marshal's image appeared on the display screen, and Admiral Zex Thara could see the excitement in his ancient features. "Admiral, I'm transmitting new data from our deep space monitoring stations. The first Devourer has entered our galaxy's outer rim, exactly where the humans predicted. It's heading directly for the Sigma sector." "Understood, Grand Marshal. Are our gravity wells in position?" "Yes. All stations in the Sigma region are online and ready." "Admiral, this is it. We're about to test everything we've built." Admiral Zex Thera felt a moment of fear, then pushed it aside. "All ships, move to monitoring positions. Let's see if human ingenuity and Caltheron engineering can save our galaxy." Over the next few days, Admiral Zex Thera watched history unfold on her display screens. The Devourer, a massive entity of pure energy larger than most star systems, approached the galaxy's edge. As it encountered the first gravity wells, its path began to bend slowly away from populated systems. "It's working," breathed Dr. Webb. "The Devourer is following the artificial gravity gradient we created." The massive entity, drawn by the false signals from their gravity well network, curved away from the inhabited regions of the galaxy and toward empty space where it could feed on cosmic dust and background radiation without harming anyone. "Admiral," reported Captain Chen from the Endeavour, "long-range sensors show 13 more Devourers approaching, all following similar paths. The gravity well network should redirect them all safely around our galaxy." Admiral Zex Thara leaned back in her command chair, watching as the greatest threat their galaxy had ever faced was gently guided away by the combined efforts of dozens of civilizations working together. "Doctor," she said to Dr. Webb, "your people have given us more than technology. You've given us a new way of thinking about the universe. And your people have given us the industrial capacity to make our dreams reality, Admiral. This is what cooperation can accomplish." On her display screens, Admiral Zex Thera could see ships from across the galaxy working together to monitor the Devourer's progress. Caltharan vessels shared space with human ships, while engineers from species that had been enemies for centuries now worked side by side. The Empire was no longer alone at the top of galactic civilization. Instead, it had become part of something larger, something better. The Caltharans had discovered that true strength came not from standing above others, but from standing with them. As the first devourer disappeared into the void beyond their galaxy, Admiral Zex Thara realized that humanity had accomplished something no conquering army ever could. They had changed the Empire not through force, but through example. They had shown that there was another way to be strong, another way to survive, another way to grow. The edge the Empire had stood on wasn't the edge of destruction after all. It was the edge of evolution. The edge of a new era, where cooperation would replace conquest, where partnership would prove stronger than domination. And at the center of it all was a small white ship that had taught the galaxy's greatest empire that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is offer your hand in friendship instead of raising it in war.